Good evening, everyone. I'm your host, Manpreet. Welcome to the second episode of this season of IST Practicals by Internshala Trainings. IST Practicals is a series of free online masterclasses delivered by industry experts. These 45-minute sessions are all about teaching students important concepts, softwares, and tools. Every IST Practical is an opportunity to experience practical learning. Today's webinar is about ethical hacking, and our presenter today is Mr. Aman Sachdev. A programmer at heart, Aman is an information security expert with over 8 years of experience in information security ecosystem. He has trained over 19,000 individuals to date, including college grads, corporate developers, and security professionals worldwide. I hope you will enjoy this webinar with him. We have a very special gift for you at the end, so stay tuned for that. And without further ado, let's welcome Aman.
Hey, hi everyone. Hope you are all doing well, staying healthy. Wishing you all a very happy Christmas Eve. And let's begin. I'll share my screen uh, and let's get right into it. Okay. All right. So I hope you can see my screen now. Perfect. So, thank you, Manpreet, for the warm introduction. My name is Aman, and I've been in this industry for a very long time. I've worked at various kinds of roles with cybersecurity, and basically, I've worked as providing consultancy to companies to secure their applications, find bug in their companies, and presently, I'm working closely inside an MNC, working with their developers trying to fix their code and making sure they are building secure code. Other than that, I'm generally traveling, except obviously COVID right now, but I'm mostly traveling for conferences around the world. Uh, I've presented at numerous conferences in Singapore, Amsterdam, Poland, London, Miami, Stockholm, Paris, a lot more. So I share my researches, I share my experiences, and train a bit all across the globe when there is no COVID. So for the time being, it's all online. That's much about me. Let's get right into it about today's session. So first of all, let us just clear out what are we not here for. We are not here to hack your friends' Facebook and Instagram accounts. We're not here to learn to do illegal things, steal from people. We're not here to do that. We are not here to try to hack websites without their permissions, right? Because all of this is a straight ticket to the jail, and all of this is considered like proper cyber crime. And Indian cyber laws are pretty strict, depending upon how they are enacted, but the laws are pretty strict. All right. So we are not here for that. But then what are we here for? So today's agenda is basically to give you a basic understanding of what exactly is hacking, what are the various kinds of hackers, and most importantly, how can hacking be ethical? What is the job scope? What is the career layout for an ethical hacker right now? We'll do that, and we'll also have a couple of demos to get an understanding, how things look like, and show you something live over here. And finally, we'll have some pathways as to what you can do in the future, what you can do from today onwards to actually get into your journey, get a job or get an internship, things like that. We'll even have a questionnaire round at the end, so you can note on your questions whatever you have, and we can pile up, we can answer them at the end. All right, so let's begin. So I'll start with a quick poll. I want you all to be interactive. I want this to be an interactive session. I'll be asking questions and taking some inputs from you. So we'll start with this. On the scale of 1 to 10, how many of you, how much do you know about websites and servers? And even how much would you rate yourself with the knowledge of hacking and cybersecurity? Between 1 to 10. Put it on the chat on YouTube. I'll check it out. Okay. Someone says 8, 4, 9, 7, 6, 7. Awesome. Okay, cool. Awesome. So basically, the our today's session is catered towards, like, we'll start from basics, right? we'll go from the zero to the higher up. I can see all of you are somewhere between the middle, so that's perfectly fine. We'll take it up from the beginning. We'll cover up basics, and we'll talk. Like, even if you know nothing about it, you will know something about it after today. All right. So let's jump right into it. So, what exactly is hacking, right? You see in movies people sitting in, green screens and typing random stuff, and it says NASA hacking and NSA hacking and things like that, something like this, right? But that is not hacking. That's just fancy stuff to make it look good. Real hacking is much difficult, much complex, and much more structured than just pressing a big red button and a message coming up saying hack successful, right? So let me just define what exactly is hacking. Hacking is an art, right? It's an art to make things do what they are not supposed to do. Now, what are these things? So it could be a computer, it could be a website, it could be even a person, a living being, a human being. If a hacker is able to manipulate the working of a system, which could be living, non-living, and make it do something that it isn't supposed to do, that is what hacking is, right? And when we talk about basically uh, how does this exactly work? There are various kinds of hackers, right? There are hackers with different kinds of motives. Some are doing malicious things. Some are the bad guys. Some are the good guys. Some don't know what they are doing. Some are very particular about what they are doing. So hackers have been divided into various categories. These are just generic categories, no hard and fast rules over as such. But basically, there are various kinds of hackers. For example, black hat hackers are the bad guys. These are guys with extraordinary computer skills, but they use it for destructive and malicious activities. So they will steal from people, they'll do scams, they'll deface the websites and cause trouble and sell people's data to other companies and things like that. So these are the bad guys. These are black hat hackers. On the opposite, we have people called white hat hackers. Now, white hat hackers are basically are individuals who have these skills. They know about hacking. They have the skills. They understand how hacking works, how each and every component of a black hat hacker, how they work, and they use their knowledge to help companies, to help organizations, to help people secure their applications, right? Secure their architecture, secure their employees. Those are white hat hackers. Gray hat hackers are somewhere in the middle. They generally are doing defensive work, but sometimes for personal gains, they might do offensive work, right? We are here to look at white hat hackers. We are here to become white hat hackers because that's how we land our jobs, right? Having a bad mark on your police record will definitely become a problem. So white hat hackers is our way to go for today. There are other categories of hackers also, and most importantly, if I just ask you, like, what are the most dangerous kind of hackers within these four? You might say cyber terrorist, or you might say state sponsored hacker, but let me tell you, the most dangerous kind of hacker is a script kiddie. Now, what's a script kiddie? Also known in gamer term as noob. Now, uh, what exactly is a script kiddie? Is a person who does not understand how things are working, what is to be done, what is hacking, how things are working, and they just download random tools from the internet. They read random blogs on how to hack Facebook and download random tools and start running them on websites, right? Why is this dangerous? Is, first of all, they don't know what the tool is, what is it doing, and so they might be damaging the website unknowingly while doing a crime, of course. And secondly, they might be infecting their own computers with viruses and trojans, right? With malware. So that's why script kiddies are the most dangerous. They do not know the repercussions of what is going to happen if they are running a random tool from the internet. So you definitely don't want to become a script kiddie. You want to get the knowledge. You want to become a proper hacker, right? Then you have other kinds of hackers like cyber terrorists. The name is self-explanatory. People who do terrorism via hacking. They hack into company websites, or steal data, cause harm to people. There was a recent incident where a group of cyber terrorists, they hacked into a hospital in London, where they disabled all the computers, and this is during COVID, right? They disabled all the computers and asked for a lot of money to unlock those computers. So they're very bad people, right? You also have state-sponsored hackers. For example, one country hires a group of hackers to hack another country for intelligence reasons. So the state-sponsored hackers, and then you have hacktivist people who promote their political or religious agendas by hacking into websites and spreading some news. This is just to give you a basic understanding. Now, all of this sounds extremely illegal, right? And it is illegal. So the next question, of course, comes in is, how can hacking be illegal? What exactly is ethical hacking? So ethical hacking is the skill to help companies, to that the hacker uses their skills to help companies protect their data from malicious hackers, protect their organization, protect their employees from malicious hackers. So ethical hacking has a very vast scope, and the main agenda remains the same depending upon what you want to secure. So for example, you could be working inside a company and making sure every employee's work system is secure, or you could be working in with the developers like I am to make sure the code is secure, or you could be working with the database engineers or the server engineers making sure the server remains secure. And there are hundreds of roles like this in ethical hacking, and depending upon what you're securing, the various kinds of jobs are present, right? So basically, when we talk about, so now that we understand what is ethical hacking, I've given you a basic idea. uh, let's get into a quick question. Okay, what is meant by ethical? Let's take a quick example, and let's see your answers in the chat. So, which of the following actions are considered a cybercrime if done without prior consent? A, hijacking a device by exploiting a loophole. B, trying to misuse a loophole. C, looking for a loophole. Or D, all of the above. Let's see your answers. Let's hear your answers in the chat. D, okay. Awesome. So I see most of you have answered correct. The answer is D. Uh, so even if, no matter you are successful or not, whether you are able to hack or not, whether you are able to find a security issue or not, trying it, looking for it without the permission of the company, of the organization, is illegal and punishable offense. So we have to keep this in mind, and that's why the answer to this question is all of the above, right? Now let's move on. So basically, let's now talk about what ethical hacking jobs look like, right? So we discussed various kinds of roles. For example, there is security engineer. Just like I told you, I'm sitting with developers, making sure the code is secure before it reaches the customer. Or if there are some issues, we help fix the issues, we help make secure applications. You also have pen testers, right? This is one of the most famous jobs in ethical hacking. A pen tester is a person who's working for a cybersecurity company that helps other companies, that they have clients. For example, they might work with let's say any company, so any shopping website, any pizza website, any food delivery website, any taxi website. So they have these clients, and those clients authorize these pen testers to test their website, find security issues, report it to them, and sit with the developers, help them fix these security issues before a malicious hacker comes in and starts doing something bad, right? So that's what a pen tester is. And one of the most exciting and interesting and most popular ethical hacking jobs is a bug bounty hunter, bug hunter. Bug hunting is a freelance job. So a lot of companies, like big companies like Apple, Facebook, Google, Uber, Netflix, all the big companies, they have something called a bug bounty program. What does that mean is, they have their own pen testers, they have their own security engineers, but they say after their testing, even then, if you as a hacker anywhere in the world, if you can find a security vulnerability in their application, they will pay you a lot of money, and that will be a per bug basis depending upon how critical, how sensitive that issue is. That's how much money the bug hunter will basically get. Okay, this is called bug bounty. There are so many other roles. You have red team, blue teams, security architects, privacy engineers. There are a lot of roles in ethical hacking, but these three are some of the most famous ones, right? And requires less fiddling, less certifications, and things like that. Okay, so now let's even discuss some famous bug bounties. Recently, there was a security researcher from Ghaziabad who got like 75 lakh rupees in a single day, right? $100,000. And what was the issue he found was he was able to bypass the login pages like that allowed Apple login. So he was able to get into like login as anybody and bypass the login entirely. Apple paid him 75 lakh rupees in a single day. Similarly, a person found a way on Instagram to view private images of a profile which is private or of a profile which they do not follow. This person exploited an IDOR vulnerability. We'll even look at an IDOR vulnerability uh, and see like what exactly is happening. We'll have a demo for that. But this person was able to exploit an IDOR vulnerability and see private photos of people that they do not follow. Instagram paid them 22 lakh rupees for this bug. Another college graduate, engineering graduate, computer applications graduate, computer engineering, he made around 80 lakh rupees in 6 7 months just by doing bug hunting, by reporting bugs to these big organizations. A girl from another girl reported an issue at Microsoft, which was able to like they were she was able to take control of Microsoft servers. Microsoft paid her 22 lakh rupees. So bug bounty is like that. There are hundreds of these every month. Researchers, they keep finding issues and they report them and they are fixed. So if today somebody tells you that I know how to hack Facebook accounts or Instagram accounts, remember, either they are lying or they are sitting on 30 40 lakh rupees of bounty and giving it to you for free, right? In this world, nothing is for free. If it is, then you are the product being sold. Right? So these are some famous bug bounties, and this is where like even with other jobs like pen testing or security engineering, the pay scale is very easily between 12 to 40 lakh rupees a month, sorry, a year in India. I'm not talking about offshores, right? An experienced security engineer or a pen tester can easily earn this range of money, right? Of course, for being a good bug bounty hunter, you have to be better than all the pen testers a company has, all the security engineers a company has, every security person that, let's say, Apple has hired to secure their applications. If you know more than them, then you'll be able to find an issue in Apple, right? And that's why they pay so much money. So that's quick intro about bug bounties also. So, question: what exactly is required to be a real hacker? What do you need to be a real hacker? What is the knowledge required? Let's have our options, right? Okay, so which of the following skills is fundamental in makings of a good hacker? What do you need to know to become a hacker, like a real hacker? Do you need like operating system expertise, expertise in networking, or Python, PHP, or you need all of this, or none of this? What do you think? What is required? Okay, D, C. Okay. Yes, absolutely correct. So I see most of you answering D, and that's a very good thing. The fundamental skills, remember, imagine a doctor, right, that does not know anything about human biology. A doctor studies for years, like 6 years, to be able to operate on a patient, right? The doctor knows everything about human biology, and that's why he's able to operate. Imagine a doctor that does not know how it works. Imagine a hacker that does not know how a website works, or that does not know how a server works, or does not know how the internet works, right? It is not possible, right? It won't work out for him, it won't work out for the patient, right? So it's very important to have your knowledge, to have your basics clear. The only real way to become a proper hacker is that you learn the tech. You learn the tech, then you hack the tech. You need to get yourself well versed with each and every basics of operating systems, networks, programming languages, how things work, how things are built, right? And then you will be able to actually play with it because you understand how those things are working. All right. So now that we understand the basics, right? Let me just give you a quick glimpse of what we are going to do once we understand the basics, right? So today we'll look at login pages. We'll look at we'll look at IDOR vulnerabilities. We'll look at a lot of stuff. So let's look at the simple login page, right? This is a login page to which the password is actually like test@test.com, and the password is pass, right? If we enter this, the login is successful. And if we enter any other password, the login fails, right? But we'll look at today one of the quick tricks. For example, if I enter a special password, I'll enter the password over here first just to show you what it is. If I enter this special password, right? This is the special password. I copy this, enter any username, any password, and I click on login. The login is successful. So now I can share this magic password to you in chat, and you'll be like, okay, you can like, okay, this is hacking. But no, it will only make sense when you understand why did this work and how is it working, right? So to get to the stage where we understand this, let's jump into quick basics, right? Let's first get into the basics of understanding what exactly are websites, how do they work, right? So to quickly give you an analogy, website works on the principle of request and response. So it's a client server model. Just like when you go to a restaurant, you go to a hotel, you order some food, right? You write down a request saying this is what you want, this is the quantity, this is the amount of spice you want, or how sweet you want it. You write down the request, and the waiter takes that request to the kitchen, the back end, right? To the server. The kitchen takes your order, looks at your order, processes it, makes a dish, gives it back to you as a response. Similarly, when we talk about websites, websites are basically a client server model. Your browser is the client, you are the customer, your browser is the client. The browser sends a request to the server. What is a server? Server is basically a computer on which the website is kept, right? And you receive that back onto your browser. This is a request response model. So what is a website? Let's have a look at this. So when we talk about a website, can anybody like quickly explain in a very short manner, like one 3 words, what is a website? In the chat, what do you think is a website? What is the definition of website? Can I hear it in the chat? Client server model, collection of code, collection of web pages, a hotel, interesting. World Wide Web, a program. So I see a lot of people with the correct answer. The correct answer is a website is nothing but a collection of web pages, right? When we look at a website, how do you open a website? You write the name of the website, right? This is the name of the website. For example, I've opened trainings.internshala. This is the name of the website, right? And it is nothing but a collection of web pages. So if you notice, if I click on this, let's say link, you see this is trainings.internshala.com slash, then there is some other page. Similarly, if we look at this page, for example, this is our name of the website, then we have the page. So this is the path and this is the page. So basically a website is nothing but a simple collection of web pages. And what is a web page? Web page is what you see on your browser. Whatever you are able to view on your browser is basically called a web page. Now, how do these things work is the one of the most important fundamental concepts of how websites work is basically something called a URL. Now, what exactly is a URL? URL is the one we saw in the top bar where it was written trainings.internshala.com/learn/hack/lab/ whatever, right? That is called the URL, the Uniform Resource Locator. As the name suggests, it is used to locate where a page is on the website, right? So let's take a look at another example. Let's take a look at YouTube, for example. So for example, I've searched for videos. If you notice, the website over here is youtube.com. The page is results, right? And we have obviously searched for something. We see that. We'll discuss this also. But notice, this is like, these are all web pages. If I open this video, for example, now you can see this is our website, this is our page, and this is some other information. Now what is this other information? Is that our website is actually made up of three major components. One is the name of the website. This is also called the domain name. For example, in our case, it was YouTube. The next part is the path to the file or the page itself. So in this case, the page is watch. And finally, most importantly, we have something called parameters. What are parameters? Parameters are the ones that you see over here. These are after the question mark, and this is the data that you are sending to the server. Just like when you're making a request, you write down things that you want to the waiter. Similarly, the URL has parameters which contains information that is sent to the backend. So when you notice in our YouTube scenario, this is basically being sent. So watch, there is a parameter called V, and the value of the parameter is this is the value. So V equal to this. Then for every other parameter we put an and sign, and the next part is AB channel equals to Internshala. So these are parameters. Parameters are the information that is sent from the client to the server basically. So let's have a look, have a quick question. So parameters are separated by ands. Parameter name equal to parameter value is the pattern after the question mark. So look at this parameter and tell me how many parameters do you see in this URL. Let's hear it in the chat. How many parameters do you see in this request? Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? Okay, I see some mixed answers. 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so most of you have answered 3, which is the correct answer. Uh, there are 3 parameters over here. So first of all, the name of the website is www.site.com. The path is folder1/folder2/ the name of the page is file-name.php. This is the name of the page, which is the last part. Then comes the parameters. So question 1, the parameters. There are 3 parameters. Name equals Jack, and age equals 10, and 5 equals 6. These are the 3 parameters. The parameters can be anything. They can be numbers, they can be digits, they can be alphabets, they can be alphanumeric, anything. So there are 3 parameters over here: name, age, and 5. The values of them respectively are Jack, 10, and 6. So these are parameters. These are most importantly for the in technical terms, these are called get parameters. So when you are getting information based upon a parameter, it's generally referred to as a get parameter. The parameters which are sent in the URL part are called get parameters. Get parameters, right? These are very important, and we'll look at that. Now let's try to understand how does this work. Like we saw YouTube, we entered youtube.com/watch, we entered V equal to this, and we saw this information, and we were getting the respective video, right? If we open up another video, for example, right? Now, this is another video. Here you can notice the name is the same, the page is the same, but the value of this parameter is different. And there is another parameter added, right? T, another parameter is added. So if we copy this V and put it in this V, what happens? Instead of our video, the other video opens. Pretty simple. Now, why does this happen, and how does it work in the back end? Now, let's try to understand. So, as we understood that you send a request and the server processes the request. So, server, obviously, YouTube server has a massive list of all the videos. It has all the videos stored in a database, right? And for every video it has some a unique ID, just like you have roll numbers, right? So when YouTube, actually you send a request to YouTube saying I want the video with v equal to that specific value, the one which we have here, YouTube server asks its database, it says get me the video whose unique ID is this, and the channel name is Internshala. There were two parameters, if you remember, right? There was v and channel. So uh, the YouTube database is asked, get me the video whose unique ID is whatever you entered, right? In the parameter, and the channel name is this. This is called a database query, right? When you query the database, when you ask the database a question, it's called a database query. In technical language, it's called an SQL query, structured query language. It's just a language, so that you cannot ask database in Hindi or English or any other language. Instead, there is a particular language called SQL, which is used to ask questions to the database. So it can be simply written, this query can be simply written in SQL as select video from all the videos where video ID equals to, then our unique ID that we entered in the URL, it goes inside these single quotes, and the channel name is equal to Internshala. This also goes into the single quote. So this is how an SQL query looks like. The database looks at this ID and this channel, and whichever video has these two conditions true, it gives you that video on the page. Make sense, right? Now let's see how we can use this in a way. Let's look at a demo for our first vulnerability, right? The vulnerability that we are going to see over here is called IDOR. We'll discuss that, what does it mean, and all of that. But let's have a look at it. So how many times have you seen these unique IDs in the URL? For example, you might open up Facebook and you open up a Facebook post. You see post ID equal to something, right? Or you open up a video on some website, you see the ID. Or you open up somebody's profile on some website, you see an ID in the URL, right? These IDs, let's have a look. For example, let's say you visit your telecom website for whichever phone connection you have. You visit their website or internet connection website. You see a page like this. You see your name. You see your bill status, validity, penalty, whatever. Yeah, right? You have your address and all. I click on show my bill, and if you look at the URL in this case, if I scroll it on the side, notice the name of the website is this, the path is this entire thing, the name of the page is bill.php, and there is one single parameter that says user ID equal to 1, right? This, I am Bruce Wayne right now. I'm getting the bill of Bruce Wayne because I'm logged in as Bruce Wayne, right? That's just like you log into your Facebook, go to your profile, you see your information, right? Now, what if I change this to something else? What if I change this 1438 to 1437? We see user does not exist. Okay, let's try something else. Instead of 1438, let's change it to 1439. Interesting. What happened is, instead of getting our own data, we were logged in as Bruce Wayne. Instead of getting our own data, we are now getting the data of Tom Cruise. This is his bill. This is his outgoing, incoming calls, his address, and all of that stuff. If we change this again to 1440, we are again getting the data of some other user. You understand that this is a big security issue. If you are able to see the bill, the personal information, credit card information, Aadhaar card, PAN card, passport, sensitive information of other users by just changing a number, that's a big vulnerability, right? And you won't believe, while I was testing a bank a few years back, this vulnerability existed there on one of the banks. Of course, I cannot name it, but in the bank, when you download your statement, there was a parameter which contained customer ID. I changed the customer ID. I was able to get the data of the bank statement of some other customer. Then there was an option to recharge your phone. In that, there was a parameter called from account number. I changed the account number to somebody else's account number, and that person's account got deducted. This vulnerability is called an IDOR, right? An insecure direct object reference. Now let's try to understand what does that this term means. So when some input is coming from the client, right, from the front end, and it is directly mapped to something in the back end. For example, in our case, the user ID was mapped to the user ID in the database directly. When changing this information in the front end, lets you control, as a hacker, lets you control the data or access the data of other users, then the vulnerability is called an IDOR, an insecure direct object reference. This is one of the most common, yet one of the easiest to find vulnerabilities. uh, when you are pen testing, when you are bug hunting, this comes as a very big portion of the vulnerabilities that are found. All right. I hope this makes sense. And to test that, let's have a quick question. Let's see how much you understand IDOR. So the question is, explain, tell me if it is true or false. The backend is taking IDs from the front end and returning the data related to the ID back to the front end. Is this a security loophole? You take an ID, the website takes an ID, returns back some data according to that ID. Is that an IDOR? True or false? Is that a security issue? True or false? Okay. Everybody says true. One false. Okay, this was a trick question. Let's see why. The answer is actually false. Let's see why. Now, if we go to YouTube, remember I changed this ID v equal to, and I got another video, right? Did change it. If I am able to get another video, is that a security issue? Does that mean we have a bug in YouTube? If I have an IDOR on YouTube, YouTube will pay me like a few, at least a few lakh rupees. Is this an IDOR? No, this is not an IDOR, because we are not controlling the information of other users. We are just seeing public information. So just if the changing the number returns some other data, that does not mean it's a security issue. But for example, if it was my profile, right? If instead of watch, if it was my profile and I was able to see my personal information or my subscriptions or my address or my payment details, and there was an ID and I changed it and saw somebody else's data, then it would be a security issue. So going back to the definition of IDOR, when you are able to change control the data of another users by changing some IDs, that is what is an IDOR. Make sense? So that is what was IDOR. Now this basically brings us to the steps followed by bug hunters. So the first, when we talk about pen testers and bug hunters, it's not that you just directly go on websites and change IDs and you report them and you become like a you earn lakh rupees. It's not that. The process is very particular. There is a predefined process. The most important step of followed by bug hunters and pen testers is information gathering. The first step that you do is to get as much knowledge as possible about the target that you are trying to get inside. You see how it's working, you see what's the website built with, what is the programming language, what is the server, what is the version of the software installed, and what are the features. More importantly, does it have payment options, does it have user options, how is the user data retrieved, is it through IDs, is it through something else. So you try to understand how the application works and it's all of its features. Once you've done that, once you understood how a feature is working, because you know how those features are built, you try to find security loopholes. You try to find vulnerabilities. What are vulnerabilities? Security loopholes. Any loophole which leads to a security issue is called a vulnerability, a weakness, basically, right? So you find security loopholes and then you try to exploit it. For example, in our user ID case, I could have tried all 4-digit numbers from 1000 to 9999. If I tried all the numbers in that case, I would get the name, the address, the mobile bill of all the users on the website. So this is a very dangerous vulnerability. If it was also giving me passport data, if it was giving me driving license, if it was giving me Aadhaar card information, then the damage is even more. And this is what is called risk assessment or damage assessment. So once you are a pen tester and working at a cybersecurity company, let's say you find an IDOR, that is not the end. You don't just celebrate. You have to write a report. In the report, you detailedly mention to the developer, you're talking to the developer, telling him, this is how I found this issue, this is how you can try this issue, this is the impact. Like a hacker can dump personal information of 10,000 users, this is the impact, and sell it to competitors, that is the impact. And then there is a recommendation that says, next time only give the data of your own self. For whichever user is logged in should only be able to see their own data. So you write a recommendation, you tell the developer how to fix this issue. And these are the steps, very generically, very broadly. These are the steps followed by bug hunters and pen testers, right? So now let's say you get a target and you see a login page, right? The one like we see, you first of all, you see a target, you try to see what are the features. So there is most one of the first features that you see is login, you see register, you see forgot password without logging in, right? You see some pages or some news or whatever, right? So you see this information, what can you do? So for today's demo, of course, if I start showing you all the vulnerabilities there are, it would take me like 3 months of continuous webinars, and even that will just scratch the surface. But today we'll just look at login bypass, right? The one we saw. Let's now jump into how did the first password work? What was the magic password? How did it work? And let's see. Let's see what is it exactly. So first of all, let's try to understand what are login pages. How do they work? Let's open up a login page, right? Uh, let's say I open, for you I have this demo website. Of course we cannot go and test on a live website, that will be illegal. And for this demo I'm basically using something called dvwa. Dvwa is nothing but a simple uh, test environment where you can play around, right? So when you enter the username, when you enter the password, when you click on login, it says login failed. Now how is this working, right? How does this work? So of course you do not see any information here, right? Do you see any data going over here in the URL, in the get parameters? No, not all information is sent via get parameters. There could be other ways to send data from the client to the server. Those are called post parameters. These are hidden parameters which are not sent as part of the URL. So same ways, if we open up our another website, if we open up this website which I showed you initially, right? uh, this is, by the way, the lab, test lab, where you can practice all of the vulnerabilities that are taught in the course itself, in the ethical hacking course, in the Internshala trainings. And it has obviously test environments where you can play around, try these vulnerabilities, and see if you actually learn these things. So same goes over here. If we enter the username and the password, when we click on login, we don't see any parameters. This means that this information is going via post parameters. Now, how do we see this post parameters? It's very simple. One of the simplest way to see post parameters is you right click on the website and click on inspect, or you can also press Control Shift I. Once you press this, you can go to the network tab, right? In the network tab, just click on preserve log. Now what will happen is every request that is sent from the front end to the back end, you will be able to see it over here. Let's try. Let's enter the username and the password. Okay, let's enter the password. Obviously we already see so much requests. By the way, you can click this clear button, it will clear everything so that you can see the request that you are interested in, right? So I click on login and let's see what happened. In the network tab, you can see a request was sent to login.php. What is the name of the website? Localhost. What is the path? dvwa/login.php, right? Now, if you click on this, you can actually see the request method is called post, not get. And if I click on payload, this is where our data we can see. So you can click on the payload tab and see where is this data going. So you can see there are three parameters over here. Username value is ASD. Password value is ASD. Login value is login. These are the three parameters. These two we can control. We can change this by entering anything over here. This is a fixed parameter, right? How many times we enter, the value of this parameter remains the same. But these are controlled with the text field. So now let's try to understand, this is the front end, right? This is how the data is sent as a post request. But what happens in the back end is the server, of course, has to ask the database again, right? Just like all the users are stored in the database, similarly this information will be stored in the database too, right? So the server asks the database, get me the user whose username is this, whatever we entered. Let's say I entered ASD and the password is ABCD. So whichever user has the username this and the password this is returned, and the login is successful. In SQL terms, what happens is it's like something like select user from all users, where username is again inside the single quotes, our input goes in our username, and there's a condition, password should also be equal to ABCD. Either of these conditions cannot be true. Both of these conditions have to be true, right? So password should be ABCD, username should be this. If there is a user in the backend, in the server, which satisfies these conditions, then the login will be successful. Else, the login will be failure. Now, let's see how we can bypass this. Let's come to our magic password, right? Now, the magic password over here is, I don't want you to remember this or learn this or note it down. I want you to understand this. The magic password is XYZ single quote or single quote 1 single quote equal to single quote 1. This is our password. Let's try this on our environment and let's see what happens. Let's go back to this login page. We try admin, we try ABCD, it says password incorrect. You can also see, for making it easy for you to understand, it shows you the query, select from users, where username is admin. See, our admin got inside single quotes over here, and password is ABCD. Again, this goes in single quote. Now let's enter our magic password, single quote or XYZ 1 equal to 1. Right? Notice there is an extra single quote here. This single quote has this brother, and this single quote has no brother right now. So we'll copy this, enter any username, ABCD, enter a password that we copied, press login, and we got logged in successfully. Now, why does this work? Notice what the query becomes. The query becomes username is ABCD and password is XYZ. Now, this single quote that we entered, it closed the single quote that was already there. So the query becomes username should be ASD, password should be XYZ, or 1 should be equal to 1. Notice we entered an extra quote at the beginning of 1, but we didn't close it. Why? Because it is already being closed here automatically. So when you enter this query, basically what is happening is you are telling the database to get you all the users whose username is this Aman at Internshala, password is XYZ, or 1 is 1, but 1 is always equal to 1, right? So, and this is an or condition. Or means either this part is true or this part is true, right? So in our case, username can be anything, password can be anything. As long as 1 is equal to 1, the login gets successful, because remember, if these conditions are true, the login was successful. In our case, 1 is always equal to 1, and that is why this trick works. This, of course, is our test environment, and any developer who is remotely with some experience will know about this and protect from these vulnerabilities. But this is basically, this vulnerability is called SQL injection. When you take some input from the front end and you are able to inject it in the back end in the SQL query, right? That is called SQL injection. Front end parameters getting injected in a query, SQL query, hence it is called SQL injection. This is one of the most famous and one of the most dangerous vulnerabilities in like in any kind of hacking. So any bug bounty program, they will generally pay somewhere around 1 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees if you are able to find a vulnerability like this. Obviously, there are a lot of variants for SQL injections. There are a lot of other ways. It's not necessarily only in the username and password field, but we obviously today we cannot get into the deep details of SQL injection. But yeah, it's all there in the course itself. But let's get to the next question. Are there other ways to bypass login page? Can we do something else? Can we do something other than this? We can guess the password. Let's open up our login page, and let's see. I can try ASD. It says login failed. I can try admin password, right? I can try some common password, maybe admin I love you, things, common passwords that people keep. You can try this, and you can even, like, I'll give you some common passwords that you can use to try on you know uh, targets. And common username, admin, administrator, user, common passwords, admin password, admin123, like. Or there is a bigger list of passwords. If you go to Google and simply search for 500 common passwords, there is this list. There are a lot of lists. There is not only 500. You see this list says 10 million passwords, right? There are word lists. These are called password dictionaries. There are dictionaries that contain hundreds of passwords. This dictionary, for example, contains 500 passwords in it, right? And there are other, you can say, password dictionaries, and there are text files which are in GBs. 1 GB of text file containing 1 crore passwords. Now you can obviously take a one password, try it over here, and do it, and like that will take maybe till your grandkids are born. Maybe you'll be able to find the password. But that's not what we want. Trying passwords one by one is boring, right? Hackers are lazy. They focus on smart work, not hard work. So, what is our smart work over here is, let me introduce you to a tool called THC Hydra. Hydra is basically a tool which you can use to automatically try hundreds of passwords in a single second, or at least 10 passwords or 5 passwords, at least faster than what you will type and try. Hydra can be used to automate the process of password guessing. This process is also called password brute forcing, right? And to download Hydra for Windows, you can simply open up this port which was made by this developer called Maz. This is the link, by the way. You can go to this link and scroll down. You will see an option called download the whole archive. When you click on this will download a zip file for you, right? You take this zip file and extract it wherever you want in your D drive, preferably. For example, I have extracted in my D drive, and this is where it is. So THC Hydra, and this is our Hydra installed. Once you download it, you can extract it simply, copy and paste it in any way. Don't need to run any setup or anything. Here you have this tool hydra.exe. What we'll also do is we'll download this dictionary also, which we found over here. So you can go over here on this link, 10 million passwords, top 500, and you can click on raw, and then just press Control S and save this file. So for example, I'll save this in the same folder where I had my Hydra. So this is my Hydra folder. This is where I'll save it. I already have this downloaded with the name 500 worst passwords.txt. You can name it anything that you want. Okay. So I'll just cancel it because right now I already have this file. So let's go back. Let's see. So this is my file in this folder, 500 worst passwords. Okay. And now let's see what we have to tell Hydra. We have to tell Hydra that it has to try all of these passwords in that 500 common password list. It has to try all of those passwords where on localhost /dvwa /login.php, and it has to send in the username. For now, we'll assume username is admin. It could be anything else also. You can try and brute force the username also. For now, we'll assume the username is admin. And we have to tell Hydra that send the username admin. In the password, put all those 500 passwords one by one, right? That's what we want to achieve. And how do we do that is we have to run a command, right? To run Hydra with a command, you hold Shift key on your keyboard and right click on the folder where Hydra is installed. So if this is Hydra, I'll hold my Shift key and right click. You will see this option here, open PowerShell window here. You can also, you might also see open command prompt window here, right? So we'll open this, and this is basically where you can run your Hydra command. Now, what is the command that I will enter over here? Let me just zoom this out. This is a bit big. I'll make it 20. Yeah. So basically, now we have to enter the command. First of all, we have to write the name of the software that we are running, which is Hydra. How do you do that? You simply say Hydra, and you can press tab. It will automatically complete. You press tab, it will automatically complete the name if it is in the folder. So /hydra.exe. Then we have to like tell Hydra what is the username we have to try. So username is supposed to be admin. Then we have to tell, this is by the way hyphen L admin. Then we have to tell what is the password that we want to try. So we say hyphen capital P. By the way, Hydra has a detailed help which explains all of these options and other options also. I'm just explaining the ones which I'm using today. In the password field, I have to specify the name of the file which contains a 500 password, right? I saved this as 500 common passwords. I can again press tab. It will automatically complete, or you can write the complete name of this file with dot slash. And then we have to tell Hydra where to send this information. It is to be sent on, what is the name of our website? The name of our website is localhost. So we write over here localhost. Then we have to mention the method to use. For in our case, the method was post. If I show it to you again, the method over here was post method. Let's see, login.php method is post, and these are our parameters. So to specify the post method in Hydra, we just say http form post, right? And the next thing that we do is we have to tell where do we send it, the exact page. So for that, I'll simply first of all write the path of my page. It's /dvwa/login.php. So I'll put this here. Then I'll have to write the parameters. Because these are post parameters, I'll just put colon, and that's how Hydra asks for it. You press colon, put the colon sign, and put the names of the parameters. The first parameter you can see is username. The value is admin. This is fixed right now. We don't want to brute force this. But for password, we put and password equal to. Now here we have to tell Hydra that replace password value with 500 passwords. So for that, we just do caret, which is above your 6, numeric 6, pass caret. And then we have the third parameter, which is and login. And the value of this parameter is login. Now, we also have to find a way so that Hydra knows when the login was successful or when the login was failure. In our case, we already know if we see this message login failed, it means login was not successful. If we don't see this message, it means login was successful. We can tell the same thing to Hydra also. So over here, we just say login failed, right? So this basically, I also added two other parameters over here, which I'll explain to you in a moment. -V and -T, which I'll right now set to 1. I'll explain this to you in a second. So this is our command, Hydra, the parameters, username, password list, name of the website, post, then the page, the parameters, and the message which we have to tell if the login is failure. Now let's run this and let's see what happens. So now you can see Hydra is trying all of these passwords one by one on this website. It has 500 passwords. This will take some time, but we can try to speed up the process depending upon how fast is the website, how fast is your internet. You can change this -T value. This basically means right now we are trying one task per second. One by one we are trying it. If we make it 10, it will open up 10 tasks and try 10 passwords at the same time if the website allows it, right? So if I try 10, then this will be much, much faster. Let's try that. So there is a wait for 10 seconds every time you run Hydra. Now you can see the brute forcing is extremely fast, right? So in our case, if we keep scrolling down, like this is trying all of our 500 passwords. Let's see if the password is found. Okay, so we have it, right? It says localhost, login name is admin, password is QWERTY123. So if we try this admin and QWERTY123, click on login, the login is successful. This is called brute forcing. This is a common exploit. This is a common attack that is done by attackers, not on passwords most commonly, but on OTP messages also, on two-factor authentication also. There have been vulnerabilities where we have been able to bypass password reset OTPs and change the passwords because the password reset didn't have any protection. Now, what kind of protection we'll discuss, but basically, if the password reset code is a number of 4 digits, it is much easier to brute force than a 8 character or a 20 character password, right? So brute forcing can be done on any parameter. We could have done this brute forcing on our ID parameter also when we were doing IDOR, right? So this is basically brute forcing attack. Now, as a user, tell me, what would you do? What should you do as users, as customers, to protect your accounts from brute force attacks? Let's hear it in the chat. What should you do to protect your account from brute forcing attacks like the one I showed you? Dictionary based brute forcing, it's called. What would you do? Okay, not have common passwords, use YubiKey. Okay, good. Complex passwords, lengthy passwords, strong passwords. Yes. And secondly, more importantly, use unique passwords on all websites. One website will get hacked, and if you use the same password, every of your account gets hacked. Secondly, enable two-factor authentication, enable login alerts and things like that. But can a website tell its customers, like, let's come to the next question, what should a website do to protect their users from brute force attacks? Can a website just come and tell you, just use a secure password, and would that be a solution? What would be the solution out of these four to what that a website should do to prevent attacks? This is the question. How can a website protect their login pages from brute force attacks? Let's see. So someone says B, someone says A, someone says C. The correct answer, which a lot of you are getting right, is B. Add a captcha. Can you try brute forcing a Gmail password? No. Why? Because Gmail, the moment you try multiple incorrect passwords, or even if you open your Gmail from a cyber cafe, for example, if you have been there, if you open your Gmail from a location which is not trusted or new, the moment you enter your email, it will ask you to click on the red lights or click on those tracks on the zebra crossing and things like that. This is called a captcha. A captcha is a test to tell computer and humans apart. It is to differentiate that it's a human and not a computer. Hydra is a computer, basically. It's a script that is doing it. It's a tool. So captcha is introduced on pages where where the website wants to make sure nobody is automating this, nobody is running a script to brute force, right? And that is what we have uh, for today. Of course, there's a lot of things that we can cover, but this is what we can cover in a short time. This is, by the way, the explanation. I've written it down. You can take a screenshot if you want. Hydra has a detailed explanation of each switch that it has. It has a very good manual, and that sums it up. All right. I think, Manpreet, I'll let you take it over from here. I hope you all enjoyed and learned something today.
Definitely, it was an incredible session, and I'm sure it was fun for everyone here. So I think now we can maybe open the floor for some questions. But before we start taking the audience questions, I have a question for you, Aman. So, as
Yeah.
someone who's new to this domain and who wants to eagerly learn and become an ethical hacker, so what is the correct path for me, and what are some career opportunities? If you could please let us know that.
Sure. So, see, as we discussed today, one of the most important things is learning the basics. Get your basics right. You see, most of the successful hackers are good at computers. They are basically they're almost computer engineers, or at least have some form of formal education, or at least self-learning on computer engineering. Maybe they learned themselves how to program, or how to use Linux servers, how to do things with Windows, small things, how to do networking, how to set up IP addresses, how to set up a local LAN network, things like these. People who become good hackers are generally really good at computers from a very early period. And they basically, why they do become good hackers is they understand computers, they understand the internet and how websites are built and how they work. And that is why if today you want to become a hacker and you are starting from zero, I would suggest get your basics done first. Get your computer networking basics. Learn how to make a website using PHP or SQL or some modern language that you want. Make your own website. Try to make a shopping website on your own. There are free tutorials, there are paid tutorials, good tutorials everywhere, right? You can learn from them, build your own website, learn about Linux operating systems. A lot of hacking happens on Linux, because a lot of servers are also deployed in Linux, right? Linux is an operating system,
Right.
like Windows and Mac, right? So there's that. Then you have to learn. Once you've got in basics right, then you get into vulnerabilities. You learn what are the different kind of vulnerabilities the hackers are finding. You follow hackers, you read their reports. They generally share their bug bounty reports also, how they find it. They make write-ups, so you can follow these people on Twitter, or on blogs and Medium and things like that. And then you practice your learning. For example, you have something called labs, hacking labs, CTFs, capture the flags. Even the ethical hacking course on Internshala, which we made, right, it has a big lab containing multiple variants of all the vulnerabilities that is being taught in the training. So practicing is very, very important. And finally, once you are comfortable with that, you go for formal certifications. And the easiest way to get a job is basically get internships and jobs, basically, is to have good score on online labs. That's what, as a fresher, when I am hiring, when other people are hiring, they will look at your score on online CTFs and online hacking lab challenges. You might not get experience with real targets, but hacking labs and CTFs are what companies will look at when they want to get a job. And of course, certifications like OSCP or some good practical CEH, things like that. So that's what you go from here. And just remember the basics, most importantly. Don't try things on random websites, and take the long route. Learn the tech, then hack the tech. Don't be a script kiddie, and have patience.
Definitely. Thanks for that, Aman. And for all the keen learners here today, Internshala Trainings is offering a very special 80% discount on our ethical hacking training. This discount is only valid till 27th. So go on and visit the link in the description, and you can go and learn more about ethical hacking from there. Now, you all can type in your questions in the comments, and Aman will answer them for you.
All right. So I'll be taking up questions from the chat. The first one is, what are the best sites to be certified in ethical hacking? There's no particular site, but there are reputed certifications that you can do. And most important thing is learning. See whichever certification gives you the most practical learning, right? That will be the best, because that will teach you hacking in a secured environment without needing to hack into other random websites, right? So as I mentioned, OSCP is there. I think Internshala labs are there. I even recommend young students, like my students, to go through the session, the training itself, right? Can you explain how brute forcing is prevented in Windows 10 or Windows 11? If you're talking about the login screen that you see, that is basically prevented with lockout. So you try 5 incorrect passwords, it will hold for 5 minutes. Lock the account for 5 minutes. You try it again, it will again. Just like Android, just like iOS, you try multiple incorrect passwords, the account gets locked. Can we? Okay. What can be done to prevent the login bypass using 1 equal to 1 method? Very good question, Ayush. Basically, you see that whatever input that the application was taking was going inside an SQL query without any sanitization, right? So the best way is to clean the input. We entered a single quote, remember, to close the existing single quote. We entered a single quote. So the simplest way is to clean before taking user input. You clean the data, you remove any special characters or anything that you are not expecting. If it is a number that you are expecting, you don't allow any special characters or any alphabets. So you create a white list of allowed input. Only this should happen. So a username can only contain alphabets and numbers or underscore. So you make a whitelist so that an attacker is not able to inject single quotes or double quotes to inject SQL query. Right? Obviously, there are in programming terms there are better ways called prepared statements uh, that are or using ORMs. This is if you are a programmer, you should use this instead of whitelisting. But yeah, that's the crux. Okay, hacking is illegal, so should we take it as a profession? Will it not be risky? That's Ayushmita. No, not at all. I've been doing it for 8 years, not been to jail once, thankfully. Right? There are a lot of ways in it. There are, in fact, there are. It's easier to become an ethical hacker instead of an unethical hacker, of course, right? And you can do so many things, and especially for the past few years, the ecosystem in India and even especially in India is changing. The outlook towards hackers is changing, and people now acknowledge that there are ethical hackers. So if you learn your things in a safe and secure environment, if you practice your things in a in a permissioned environment, if you don't try to hack random websites without their permission, you will be safe, and basically you stay under legal premises, right? Is certification important for getting a job? Absolutely not. It is a good to have thing, but only do it to get an experience, and have a certification is just a certificate saying you know the stuff, right? So it's not necessary. If you have good experience, or if you have an internship, or if you have a good score on hacking labs, there are a lot of labs online. You have Hack the Box, and you have Try Hack Me. There are a lot of labs online wherein you can try these things, and they give you scores for these things. Of course, these are very high level labs. You will need to like learn Linux, learn exploitation, learn website hacking and vulnerabilities for some time to be able to do these things. But within a year, within 8 months, a year, you can very easily, if you pace yourself properly, set your goals right, you can get yourself to a level where you can start doing CTF machines. And if you have a good score there, it's not difficult to get a fresher job. Of course, having a certification is good, but I think you could start with an internship and then go with a proper job, because hacking is something that requires experience, and people are looking for people with experience. So either you have good experience with labs, or you have good experience as an intern. That will be great.
Definitely. And I think that would be all, Aman.
Or
Thank you so much for the incredible session. I'm sure everyone got to learn a lot of new things. And thanks everyone for joining. You can subscribe to our channel on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and we'll be coming up with very interesting sessions in the future as well. So stay tuned for that. And thanks for joining. And I wish you all a Merry Christmas.
thank you everyone. Wish you all a Merry Christmas. Thanks, Manpreet. Have a good evening, everyone. Bye bye.